Hey, hey, welcome to the Spark. We hope you had a wonderful holiday, Thanksgiving. And so, this is a show where us two moms, Nicole and I, are conversating about the joys and the struggles of life and business with strategies to simplify. You guys, it's been a break. You're going to have to just deal with all the mind clutter. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Danielle Phelps. I'm from PassionProfitCEO.com, and this is my lovely co-host.
I'm Nicole Nelson from NicoleNelsonMomCoach.com, and this is episode 7. Today's conversation is about appreciating your identity as a stay-at-home mom. Before we begin, though, let's go ahead and start with a short prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that you've given us to come together to talk more about our identities and the person that you have created us to be. Lord, give us the insights and the wisdom to appreciate who that is that you've called us to be and to live that out fully in our lives, in each action that we take, in each word that we speak, in each decision that we make. Send your Holy Spirit down upon us and enlighten us today with the words that need to be spoken, with the conversation that needs to be said, to continue to strengthen and fortify this truth in our lives, your truth in our lives, and guide us so that we can continue to serve our families better and to continue to serve the world in the ways that you have called us to do so. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Hey, Allison, we see you. Thanks for saying hey. When you're here, let us know whether you're watching live or the replay. Let us know you're here. Say hey to us in the comments wherever you are, YouTube, or in the Facebook group or wherever you are. Say hi. Let us know that you're watching. Let us know how your Thanksgiving was. Hey, Amy Ray. So before we even jump into all of this, what I want you guys to know first and foremost is our walks are all completely different. We are all completely different people. And so, Nicole is very different than I am. And so our identities, although they are, similar in ways, like they are completely different altogether as well. So just know that as we get to talking about this, you've really got to search your heart for what God says of you. And so I'm going to turn this over to Nicole because she really puts the hierarchy in place. And I think we need to really start with that in getting this conversation going.
Speaking of hierarchy, here's my child. Already climbing into my lap. Right, you sit still, okay? All right. When Danielle talks about the hierarchy, she's talking about a very important truth that I know it's not something that is new, but it's something that I had to discover and rediscover in my own journey, because for a while there, I was chasing dreams without full discernment of God's will. And at that time, I thought I was, trying to do the best that I could for my family, trying to do the best that I could for the dreams that we had, trying to do the best that I could as a Christian. But what it ended up being was I was chasing these dreams and not sitting down with God and allowing him to direct what I was doing. I was the one who was trying to tell God what to do and not listening to what he wanted me to do. And it was a very profound, realization of that truth in my life. It wasn't a new idea. I'd grown up with, okay, yeah, we follow God's will. We try to do God's will. But to actually apply it to my life as a mother, in our specific circumstances was new. And I think that's a challenge for many of us, is that when we are placed in different circumstances, when our circumstances in life change or our roles in life change, we then have to rediscover what the truths look like in our lives, that the truths that we've grown up with look like in our lives. And so what I discovered through this was the hierarchy. And that's how I operate on a daily basis, with God first, self-stewardship, my husband, my children, and everything else. So with God being first, that is he is the one who determines my identity ultimately. Like, my identity is in Christ. It's founded in Christ. And through that identity, I can then understand better how to discern and make decisions in the roles that he has placed me in my life, which mean within my own self. That identity and my relationship with God, like, that is super close knit, and it's almost like I do separate it out, because it's important to know that you need to take that time for yourself. For me, it involves prayer, and the prayer is so important to develop that relationship with God and to have him help you figure out what that looks like, figure out who you are. Because so many times as moms, like, well, I'm not really sure who I am anymore. I don't remember what my interests are. I'm really having trouble just knowing what I am outside of what I have to do every day with my children, or the meals that I need to prepare. I'm so absorbed in this life as a mom, as a wife, that I don't recognize myself anymore. And I don't know what that means for me and what I'm supposed to do with this, because I'm frustrated. I feel like something's missing, and really nothing is missing except that rediscovery of grounding of knowing who you are in Christ, and everything else flows from that. And I know it probably feels a bit sorry, he's gonna knock something over. It might sound vague. And Danielle, maybe this is something where, like, what's an area that, if when I say this, like, what comes up for you when I say being grounded in Christ and, like, having your identity in him, that you might feel stuck on? Excuse you.
So I feel like we all grow at different paces, and I feel like our identity changes throughout our lifespan. And so it's like, Nicole asked me a really hard question actually this morning. She's like, where do you find joy? And I had so much trouble just responding back to that. It's like, I don't know. I do all of these things, but it's like, again, it goes back to that awareness. Is we have to have awareness of our own feelings and knowing, what is actually bringing joy to our lives. And when I got to talking to her, I was like, a clean house gives me joy. Like, it gives me that no stress, just environment around me to where my brain functions the way that it needs to. And, like, I feel like that gives me joy. And it's like, there's just so much to identity that I still don't fully grasp and understand. So when you say identity in Christ, it's like, I know what you mean, but I also at times don't know what that means for me. Cause it's like, I know God. Like, I literally was just sitting here thinking when Matthew was on there, I was like, I wonder what he would say if we asked who he was. Like, I wonder what his response would be if we ask, who are you?
You say Matthew?
And of course, exactly. That's what went through my mind. He would say Matthew. And it's like, but who is Matthew? And it's like, that's what we have to answer for ourselves. And we can't, nobody else around us can answer that question. We have to answer that question. But in order for us to answer that question, we have to look to God for that answer, because God, you know, our circumstances around us have made us who we are right now. And it's like, and we have the choice of being that person or not. And it's like, that in itself is our identity. And it goes, gosh, there's so much I want to say in this whole second right here. I want to jump into, you know, the mindset and the self-mastery process, but we'll get to that later. But it's like, God has made me a wife. He's made me a mother. He's made me super passionate about a lot of things. And it's like, I still don't know who I am, because there's not just that. I think we look for just one thing to identify our identity, and there is not just one thing. It's, we are a lot of things, and it comes from the roles that we have in life. And this is where me and Nicole don't even agree on 100% when it comes to identity, because I feel like a lot of the roles that we have are our identity. It comes to purpose, but she kind of sees things a little bit different than that.
Yeah, and it's funny because it goes together, but at the same time there is that split of opinion, if you will, because it's like, so often when we're searching for our identity, or for like to find ourselves again, or whatnot, a lot of times we'll go to different places, we'll go to different people, we are attached to certain things or people or circumstances or thoughts or desires. And that isn't always a bad thing, because it can help motivate us. But at the same time, hold on, it can be if we think that's the thing that's going to fill that hole, where many times it's that hole that is a void, and the only thing that can fill that hole, the only being, is God. And then when you allow him to fill that hole first, everything else is able to spill out much more naturally and much more aligned with all those talents, all those gifts that Danielle was just saying, the roles that he has given you as a wife, as a mother, and all those passions, and helps to further influence and guide you what to do with those roles, versus letting this, you know, the spur of the moment of the intensity of each role and each passion dictate. You're letting what's inside dictate. I guess it's an inner, yeah. I can't even describe what I'm trying to describe right now. But Danielle, you had a thought.
I did. Oh, I got two thoughts. The first one being, you know, when you were talking earlier, external validation. I feel like we all seek external validation of who we are, when we should be looking to God. I know that's definitely something that has been in my journey, like in my first marriage and different things. Like, as a people pleaser, I didn't know who I was. Somebody asked me one question, like, what's your favorite song? I'm just like, I don't know. What's my favorite genre of music? I don't know. I like it all. Like, because I've just been programmed to listen to it all and not complain about it. It's just like, and I feel like that's the same way in our lives. There are, and that's the conversation we were having this morning. It's like, I do all these things, and yes, some of the things I complain about and don't enjoy, but there's not really anything that sets the tone for something that brings me joy more than anything else. It's just more of, I enjoy things more when it's togetherness. Like, that's and so I feel like a lot of times, though, we're seeking that external validation from other people to tell us who we are. And if they are not children of God and they don't know the word, then what they're telling us may not be exactly who we are. And what was I listening to the other day? They were talking about, Gina Forehand, that video I shared in the group. She was talking about telling people who they are and not what they do or anything like that. And it's like, that was powerful when it comes to identity of Christ, because when I think of identity of Christ, Allison said it. She said, so when I think of my identity as a child of God, and then every role that God has placed me in is lived out through that lens. And I didn't think about it that way until this morning after I was listening to a different podcast, and it really made what Nicole was saying put into that perspective for me in a brighter light. And I'll share that podcast group later, to just have somebody else's perspective on all of this too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there was a point in my life where I went from depressed people pleaser, not even understanding my own identity, what music I liked or anything like that, to then trying to discover who I was, just like you said, because in marriage, we can lose ourselves because we are becoming one with that person. And in parenting, we can lose ourselves because we give all of ourselves to our children and don't have time for ourselves sometimes. And it's like, there came a point in my life where I really started searching for who is Danielle. And then it was like, okay, I started looking into God girl affirmations and different things to tell me who I was, because again, there was a lot of shame and different things from different aspects of, well, this is not okay. Like being a introvert and trying to be social and stuff, like that's not acceptable. Like it's like quiet people aren't supposed to be quiet. Everybody's supposed to be loud. But if you think about it, in reality, the world needs quiet people to listen to those people who are the loud ones. And it's like, but we have the choice in ourselves and who God says that we're to be. We have to listen to that call from him of what he's saying, just like he's called me to different things and I'm loud in those areas. Just like, the holidays were just here. In holiday gatherings with my family, I kind of sit off to the corner and I'm a quiet one because there are louder people in the family who are much bigger talkers than me, and I just listen. But in this area where I'm super passionate and things like that, and there's really good conversations and really deep, meaningful conversations, it's like I can talk for days. Like it depends on the circumstance. And it goes back to my identity. Yes, I am an introvert. I'm also an ambivert. I've learned to become an ambivert and be more social and different things, and that really lights me up now. But I didn't know that until I started experimenting with different things and different aspects and truly just walking the journey out for myself instead of relying on everybody else to tell me who I was. That's just like when I was a kid, I always had my mom talk for me. But then when I got into the place where I'm required to talk for myself, it's like, oh, what do I actually want to talk about? Like I have that choice of what I get to say and what I don't. And it's the identity comes in through walking it out of figuring out who you are yourself.
And embracing that. And that's where I think it's interesting because like you see on both sides of the coin, let's talk about stay-at-home moms. There can be stay-at-home moms that are shamed for just being a stay-at-home mom, and stay-at-home moms can be shamed for trying to have a business or, running a business from home while being a stay-at-home mom. It goes both ways. And the point is there's no shame in either. If that's where you feel God is calling you to, that's how you can serve him best and glorify him best and serve your family best. And you have discerned that is what he's calling you to. It doesn't matter what the rest of them say. What matters is what God says about you in that situation, in that circumstance. As a stay-at-home mom who's not working, it can be really hard because you are constantly at service for other people. You're serving your husband, you're serving your children, you're taking care of the demands of the household. Many stay-at-home moms are also homeschooling moms, and the demands are constant. And there was a point in my life when I was going. I wanted to, I tried different businesses, and I was burnt out after one summer, and I decided to pull back and really understand who God created me to be, first as a wife and mother. And just focus on that, because I knew in that moment that I needed to pull back from everything in order to fully embrace that and to focus on that, because I was so easily distracted by what was over here with businesses and everything. And I needed no distractions in order to fully embrace and understand that in my life. And it turned out to be a really beautiful thing, because the things that used to bore me or felt just really monotonous, I learned how to experience joy despite what I was doing, because I knew that's what God called me to. And I could have joy by the pure fact that God had called me to that moment, had called me to that task in that very moment in time. And, he did call me back to building a business, but he needed to teach me that very important lesson. And now I'm learning how the building a business incorporates into what he's calling me to do. And that's part of what we're doing here. That's why it's simplifying life and business. It's understanding if you're not running a business, what that looks like, to simplify and to really embrace and be at peace with where you are and who you are. And if you have a business, to do the same while incorporating what it looks like to have a business. And this is where, it's that role as a business owner is added to the mix of all the demands that are already on your plate. And it's not so much about juggling everything, but about embracing each role and each task as they come, because and you have embraced again the fact that God has called you to this in this exact moment. And when we can look at things from that perspective and shift our mentality from I have to do this to I get to do this, to this is exactly what God has called me to in this moment, there is so much beauty and joy that can come from that perspective alone, especially when we make it a habit to shift that mindset and think on it with gratitude versus with begrudgingly, versus with like, I have to do this because I'm a mom. I get to do this because God has called me to this vocation of motherhood. Or I get to do this because God has called me to this business. Or I get to love my husband in this way because God has given me my husband to love and cherish and to be cherished by. And so, yeah, when we shift that perspective, I think it flows into even different things that Danielle talks about with the mindset, with self-mastery, that is just really key to that awareness that we need in order to move forward with peace and joy and a full embracing of who we are and who God has called us to be.
Exactly. And we really got to tap in and listen to what's on our own hearts of where we need to be in this moment. It's going to change from day to day, week to week, month to month, and, throughout the years as we grow as people. And, I was just sitting here thinking and totally, went somewhere else, but it's on the same path of what you and I were talking about earlier, Nicole, with my son. And it's like, totally off topic, but not. And it's like, it goes to, let me get this out. Let's just talk about the self-mastery process real quick and the mindset. We all have different beliefs. We've grown up with different beliefs. What we've learned from people around us and everything like that is inside of us. We have those roots. Somebody has planted those seeds in us. Those roots have sprouted, and we have those beliefs inside of us. They're called core beliefs. And those beliefs are what help us to operate in this world. That's the front layer of how our actions come to fruition. And so you have your beliefs, and then you have your thoughts. So what you think around those beliefs is what actually creates those feelings within our body. Like I literally almost started crying a while ago because I was thinking something in my mind. And then you have those feelings associated with that thought. And then whatever that feeling is, because humans operate off of feeling, like it takes a lot to have self-discipline and to understand this process, to not operate off the feeling, but off the feeling that you need to have in order to have the right action. And so your feelings determine your actions, and then your actions determine your results, and your results create the circumstances around you. And when I was listening to that podcast earlier, they were talking about the circumstances, and they said, what if the circumstances never change? What if you are stuck in the circumstances that you are in right now for the rest of your life? Are you going to be okay with that? And it's like, that's a profound awareness right there, because even though we might not be able to actually change the results that we're getting or the circumstances around us, we still have the ability to change our beliefs around things. We have the ability to change the way we're thinking about things. How many of you are natural complainers? How can I get my hand in the camera? How many of you are natural complainers, and you think negatively around things, and then you're like, so a great example that I've used since the beginning of time is laundry. How many of you think, oh, I need to go put laundry in the dryer? Oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to go put laundry in the dryer. I don't like laundry. And then the action doesn't get done because you put it on the back burner because it's not something you want to do. Again, that feeling comes up of, ooh, I don't want to do it. So you don't do it. And then, but knowing that you have the ability to think, oh, just like Nicole was saying, oh, I get to do this. I get to go do laundry for my family because I love my family and I want them wearing clean, good smelling clothes. Like, that's a totally different thought that actually helps you to go take that action that makes you feel good about what you're doing, so that way you can perform the action necessary to get the result of actually having your house clean and clean clothes on your children so that they don't stink when they go to school. And so it's like, that circumstance is then created of, you have that household that is clean, and your kids get to go to school smelling good, even though there are those days where they don't take a bath and it's just too much, and like, it is what it is. But it's like, knowing that and knowing what's going on, like literally a while ago, I just thought, my son, I want him to continue playing basketball. He's uncertain if he's going to play basketball next year. I have the chance to meet Nicole this Saturday, and I'm going to cry because she's coming 2 hours away from me. And like, every inch of my soul wants to be there and support her. And I've told her multiple times, I'm there. There's nothing keeping me from being there. But then I realized that my son has a basketball tournament, and it's like, I am the supporter of my child first. And it brings me to tears just thinking about it, because in my own journey, I played basketball as a child. My parents didn't come to every single game. They would let me ride to the bus to the away games, and they would pick me up back at the school when we got back. And I didn't like how that felt. I felt unsupported, but who knows what their situation was. They may not have had the money to go to those games. It may have been all they could handle to get me into the sports, and them not be able to afford to go to the sports. And it's like, I don't want my kids to know that. Like, I want them to feel loved in sport. Out of all three of our kids playing sports, I've only missed ever one game, one game, and one recognition because another kid was sick. And it's like, I don't like the feeling of what that feels like inside of me, because I know what that feeling felt like when it was done to me. Knowing that, and my beliefs around it, my beliefs are, I'm going to be there to support my children. And then knowing what Nicole teaches of putting that hierarchy in place, it's God, it's yourself, it's your husband, it's your children. My children comes before Nicole. And it's like, with every ounce of my being, I want to be there. I want to meet her in person. I want to squeeze her, and I want to take pictures with her, and I want to do all the things. But my child comes first. And especially not knowing if he's going to play ball next year. Like, my loving heart is there to support him with every ounce of my being right now, because I'm passionate about basketball, but because I'm passionate about letting my kid know that he is supported. I'm not going to miss a game. And I've made that contribution to myself of saying, I'm going to support my children. I'm going to be at their games unless it's dire emergency or somebody's health is critical. I'm not going to miss it. And so I'm having integrity with myself of what I had said, but it goes back to those beliefs and my values. They have to come first. And that's who I am as a mother. Right. And so as a stay-at-home mom, it's not always easy to see all these other women out there working and you feeling like you need to have that career of your own and things like that. I dealt with that too, but it was also going through a spout of, I don't like just being a wife and mom. Like that's in my identity. It's engraved down and deep inside of me that that's not just who I am. There's more to it than that. And that's where this business comes in. And Nicole said it best. She said, the business is an extension of who you are. And this business is definitely extension of who I am. Because my business is not just teaching people business. It's life and business. When I was a health coach, I knew that it was more than just, eating right and exercising. There was so much more to it. It's spiritual, it's relationships, it's having the accountability that you need in order to live the lifestyle that you want to live. And Nicole and I had this conversation the other day. I showed her a before and after pic of a guy who does personal training and has a gym, and he started dating this girl and she lost all kinds of weight and she's now a bodybuilder and just done a competition. And I was like, why does she have much better results than everybody else that he does business with? Some of them have been in that gym for multiple years. He's been working with them, but they don't have the results that she does. Why? And it's because she is living that lifestyle with him. She's with him 100% of the time, and they are doing life together. And she's taking part in that lifestyle that he lives to have the muscles and be super healthy and all the things. And so she got those results in 1 year versus what everybody else has been there and still not have them. And that's what Nicole and I are creating, this accountability that we have together, this community that we've formed. It truly allows us to live the lifestyle that we're wanting, but be accepted for who we are and explore our identities together and know that we don't have to be the exact same person, even though God says, what God says is what we are. And, it's all similar, but still we have to have that spiritual relationship with him to know what we're supposed to prioritize first. And, Devin said the other day when I was talking about meeting Nicole, and I was in tears because it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't be in two places at once. And there's multiple ball games that day because it's a tournament. And it's like, okay, maybe I missed one ball game for my kid and go see Nicole. And then I told Nicole that's what I was going to do. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. The tears just kept flowing. And it's like, I can't not support my kid. And then it's like, Devin's like, so why don't you just take a whole weekend and go see Nicole at her house? I was like, I can do that? He's like, yeah, when the finances and stuff are right, just take a vacation and go see her. And I'm like, oh, that is possible. I really had to restructure my thinking of, like it doesn't have to be right now. Like, yes, she knows I love her. She knows I want to see her because she feels it too. But she also understands with the hierarchy that she has in place of God, herself, family, then me and the business. It's like, she understands that it doesn't have to be right now in this moment.
And I think that's really important to understand too, when you're talking about going back even to the bodybuilder and even this whole topic, because it really is part of understanding your identity and how you are going to or want to or know you need to live out the priorities that you have based on those roles that God has given you. Like someone who's not a stay-at-home mom or someone who's not even a mom or married or is going to have totally different set of priorities. But
beliefs.
Yeah, I mean there's so many differences, and that's one of the reasons why we have this group specifically for Christian moms, because it is it's just a different animal, if you will. But part of it, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna get my thoughts together on this, but it's one thing to know what those priorities are, and another thing to live it out. And that's, like Danielle said, where the accountability comes in, because we encourage one another to live out our values and priorities in the ways that we know we need to, because there can be so much pressure to live them out of order. And that then wreaks havoc on interiorly, just like with Danielle, like that strain of like, should I see Nicole? Should I be there for my son's game? And I told her, I was like, you need to do what you know is best for your family. We'll be okay. Yes, I want you to know you are loved and are loved no matter what, and I want to see you, but your family does come first. And I'm okay with that, you know? Like Danielle said, there are other ways. Like there's so often, it's so easy to see something as all or nothing. When instead there isn't a middle ground. There is another way. There's always another way. And when we can like have that integrity that Danielle talked about and be true to who we are and our role in life and our circumstances in life in that moment and what we are called to in that moment, we can then walk forward more confidently and more at peace, knowing that we are making the right decisions in our lives, that we, are discerning God's call in our lives with each step we take. And it just allows that confidence. Like we can look back and not have regrets. Back when I told you that in that time, I was just chasing. I was the dream and not completely, but kind of disregarding a bit of my family. And I was just hustling, especially during this one summer. It was off and on for a few years. And this one summer in particular, before I just said, okay, I'm just focusing on my family. There was a turning point during that summer where I looked back and I was like, what if I died tomorrow? All of this would have been for nothing. I have every regret in the book. That's a red flag. Like that's what it's like. Are there any regrets? Is there anything that's like you wish you had done different? That's something to be aware of, to know. And now looking, if I were to die tomorrow, I'd be like, I have no regrets. Nothing. Their circumstances are similar, to back then. Some are, we had less kids, a little less money, things like that. But the circumstances were very similar, even so, because we basically started over after we moved to where we are now a few years ago. And we are still building. We still have dreams. We have a family to take care of. My husband and I, when I say we, but we are at such a different place mentally, spiritually, with our circumstances. And it goes back to our thoughts around our circumstances have changed. And we go forward knowing that, okay, God has us here for a reason. He has called us to this moment for a reason. And we are going to be obedient to that call in this moment, because we, beyond all else, know that our identity is grounded in Him and what He is asking us to do. And there's always going to be demands. The kids, meals, life, work. I have 2 kids sick right now. But my perspective on it has changed from one of weariness. I mean, yes, I get tired. I definitely get tired. So Danielle can attest to that. There'll be days when I'm like, I just don't want to do anything. But it's a different kind of weariness. It's not that weariness with life. It was a weariness with life. And now I can truly say that I love my life, and I'm so thankful to where God has me right now and who He has called me to be in this moment. And I think that's what we are all trying to do, and we can do. First, it's hard to get that internally. It's hard to have that interior motivation, but it's something that you can grow. It's something you can build a habit of over time. but surround yourself with those thoughts that you want to form with the Bible verses. That's why we have the Bible verses in quotes in this group, because we want to help you shift your perspective to the truth of where you are, the truth of where God has called you to right now. So use those, hang on to those, read those, because it's to help you shift. Hold on to the ones and save the ones that you feel are super relevant to you right now, and go out and find more. It's those different things. As I scroll through Instagram, I follow the things that the profiles that have those quotes that just lift my spirit and remind me of who I am, remind me of where God has me right now and what He's called me to right now, so that when I start feeling a little bit low, a little bit, what decisions am I making? Because they do still come up. I really do believe that the lifelong process, we're human, but we are always called, and we always have that ability and that choice to shift our minds to what the truth is, to who God says of us. So surround yourselves with those and use them, because they will do more for you in the long run than you can ever imagine, along with daily prayer and asking our Lord to just continue to fill you with His love, His peace, and His wisdom and understanding in where He has you right now.
Yes. And, this group too is to help you to put that hierarchy in place. If you're in this group and you stay engaged in this group, and you actually participate in the group and watch and follow the posts and stuff, it helps you to put that hierarchy in place. And like, we're going to have workshops and different things to help you grow in different areas of the hierarchy. And, like right now, we don't have a whole lot of business stuff in here, but it's coming. Like, me and Nicole are working on something super special for you guys behind the scenes to help you put all the business foundational elements in place to have that fully thriving business. But it's like this, the part of this that has to be in structure first is everything that we're talking about here. And if you stay tuned into the Spark, we're building one thing on top of the other. We're putting this in foundational place for you. And if you just follow along and start incorporating it all, you're already doing the work. But the quotes and things that she was talking about, those Bible verses and stuff, that's helping you to put that God time into your life, whether you realize it or not. Sitting here preaching to you about different things and, sharing Bible verses with you and different things and testifying to you. There is success leaves clues. They say that in business all the time. Success leaves clues. But if you listen to other people's testimonies and different things, success leaves clues in the journey of walking with God too. And it's like, this group is to help you put that hierarchy in place. And Kat, are you still here? When you had asked us to talk about how mothering is working, I need you to clarify what that means. Do you mean mothering in how mothering is working as in helping your children to be raised the way that they need to be and who you want them to be? Or are you talking about mothering is working as in being a mom is an actual job and you like, what am I trying to say, Nicole? It's like mothering is, it's what I was just telling you. Like,
it's valuable.
There's a mindset. Yes, those words, both. Okay, so here's an example from my past that will help you with the whole self-mastery process of the beliefs and the thoughts and the emotions and the actions around being a mother. Okay, so in my journey, I just told Nicole this behind the scenes, but it's like, when I was super depressed, I didn't want to do any of the chores of being a mother. I didn't want to be just a mom and wife. And Allison had said in one of the comments, I love being a wife and mom, but that does not have to be all that I am. And that's my perspective. That is exactly how I feel about it, where Nicole was like, I want to be the best mother and wife, and that be what I'm known for, because that's what God has put on my heart to be first. And for me, it's like, I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but then when I got in that life, it was depressing. It's like, ooh, what was I thinking? Like, because I don't enjoy cooking. I don't enjoy any of the chores of what that is, except for playing games with my kids and stuff. And I can only take so much of that. And so it's like, for me, like the laundry and cleaning the house and stuff like that, I always, wanted that external validation of, hey, honey, you're doing a good job. Thank you for being mom. Thank you for cleaning my clothes. Thank you for washing the dishes. Thank you for cooking my food. And while my husband now does say some of those things because he's aware that I need that to feel valuable, it goes back to, there had to be a mindset shift there. And that's what Nicole helps you to do. She helps you to see that positive versus the negative, and having those, shift those negative thoughts to positive thoughts so that you can perform better in that area and be a better mom. But it's like, for me, I was telling her, we have a vacation jar that we put money in, and it's like, money has to have a purpose. I don't know if you guys follow Dave Ramsey or not, but money has to have a purpose in your life. And, I couldn't find the value of doing all the chores without that validation. And it was like, okay, but now something that my mom used to say all the time, again, those core roots that are inside of you, those little phrases and different things that go on loop, on repeat in your mind. She would say, a dime for your time. And now it's like, when I see change laying around the house, I'm like, oh, I'm doing something valuable here. This change, God sent me this change. Somebody laid this change down here to pay me for being a mom. It's a dime for my time, for the investment that I have put into being that service provider for my family. And it's like, now that I see that, and I see that change going into a jar and see it accumulating, and then we turn that into cash bills to use on vacation and different things, like, it has a purpose. And it's like, in order for us to operate, we need that why. We need that strong why behind why we're doing what we're doing. And on that other podcast episode that I was listening to, they talked about being intentional with your children. Like, this woman is a minister, and she goes around the world and talks about identity and different things and with God. But the person who was interviewing her asked, do you intentionally teach your children this? And she's like, oh, no, I had never thought about that. And it's like, now that I understand the hierarchy, I'm better at identifying myself as a wife and mother, because there's a bigger why and purpose behind it. And I'm now being more intentional about how I'm operating in front of them, because I understand that they are learning from my modeling. Like, there had to be that deeper purpose in it all. And before, it was just like, I don't enjoy this. I was operating off those emotions of, I don't enjoy this. I just want to go lay on the couch. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do chores that, by the end of the day are just going to be piled back up again. It's mundane. It's routine. I don't like it. There's no joy here. That's how I was operating when I was depressed. It was like, I'm just going to go lay on the couch, and I'm going to yell at my children because they're getting on my nerves. Like, I wasn't having those positive thoughts that were creating those positive feelings in me of looking at my child and just looking at them. Like, last night, Wrangler was sleeping. He's not feeling too good, and he fell asleep on the couch. And I just watched him sleep. And I'm like, gosh, he's grown so much. Oh my gosh, I love him so much. And I just want to spend so much time with him. And, all these things, and knowing that he's growing so fast. And that, again, comes in with our identity and being super intentional about what we're doing. Because with him, like, he goes to his dad's every 2 days. And it's like, I have less time with him than most moms have with their children before they're 18. And it's like, when I realized that a few years ago, and I literally added up how many days I have left with him before he's 16 and running roads and, having more of that freedom of doing what he wants to do, it's like, whoa, I've got to get super intentional with what I'm doing with my kids, because, they're learning from me. And there's a lot of areas, again, you don't want to shame yourself, but there's a lot of areas I've failed my children. We've talked about this in an earlier episode. It's like, I can see them. They've picked up habits of old depressed me. And it's like, oh, this needs to be reworked before you go out on your own. Like, how do I need to course correct this before you're out on your own, because it's been a hard journey for me. I need to go ahead and be intentional about encouraging you in a different route, so that way you can go ahead and start that growth and go where you need to go. Train them up as they need to go, and they won't stray from it, right? That's what the Bible verse says in some degree. But it's like, it took me having to figure out that I needed a spiritual relationship with the Lord before I could ever teach them about that stuff. So yes, you may go to church, but until you truly have that spiritual relationship like no other with God, like, it's that discernment is really not there. And we do kind of seek that external validation, just like I've told y'all before. When I need something that has to do with being more godly, I go to Nicole or I go to Amy, and I'm like, what do I do here? And it's like, because I'm still learning. And what did they do? They said, go look at the Bible, look at this Bible verse, look at that. And it's like, oh, like, we need those constant reminders of, hey, this is who you are. This is what God says who you are. And then you get to choose what you believe around that, because what has been put on you in your life, there's so much out there. You have to figure out what you truly believe. And if you're believing something that doesn't align with, the actions that you're wanting to take, you have to course correct all of yourself. You have to do that inner work to have the right belief in you. What does God say? What is the truth of who you are? Figure out how that is, what that belief is supposed to be. Start affirming that belief in you. And then every time you go, like, whenever you go to, I need an example, Nicole. When you go to, okay, so parenting your child, okay, you know that you're supposed to react in love, because in love is patient, love is kind, love is all of that. When you go to discipline your kid, you're supposed to still do that out of an act of love, and not just be harsh and whip them and scream at them and yell at them and all of those things. Like, you're supposed to do it different than that. And we know that as Christians, but it's like, in that moment, you have to think, oh, what's the right thing? What's God say that I need to do here? And then you have to think about it. And it's like, okay, I need to say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before I go talk to my kid, because if I don't, and I don't cool off, like, it's not going to be pretty. And it's really thinking about that and being intentional about your thoughts, so that way you can have the right feelings. Oh, I need to go. I love my kid. I love my kid. I love my kid. I love my kid. He just did a sin. It's okay. It's okay. I can forgive him. I can forgive him. And then go discipline the kid. It's like, you have to be intentional with your actions, but before that, you need to understand this process of what's happening, and not just go from, oh, you've done wrong, and then harshly taking that action based on the beliefs that are in you. You need to assess the beliefs of what God says, and then take action based on the thoughts that you need to have, the feelings you need to have, in order to act in the manner of the higher standard of living to God's call for your life.
And to do that, really, it really is taking that time for prayer and to read the Bible and to soak in the things that God is telling us through his word. And through that silence, and like, there's so many times where it's not all the time or every day or anything, but like, when I'm able to sit in silence and all of a sudden God speaks to me through whatever it is I'm reading. And it just, like, it's a light bulb goes off, and it's just like, oh, okay. This is what this means right now in my life. Like, this is how it applies. And it's so important to have that in place in whatever way you can in the moment. And it's going to look different whatever season you are. But Danielle's story, or what she was just saying, it reminded me about when a while back my kids were younger, and I was so trying and so struggling to incorporate that daily prayer time. It was a real battle, because first of all, I didn't really want to get up early and pray, but I did start doing that. But then my kids started getting up early too. Every time I'd wake up, no matter how early, they would end up waking up around the same time I did. And of course, there's only so early you can go.
sorry, I'm totally
Oh my
interrupting.
gosh, yeah.
The
No,
devil
yeah.
is going to try to keep that time away from God because that's what he wants of you.
But the thing is too, like I had to realize like what would happen was like, oh my gosh, they're coming down. What the heck, Lord? I'm trying to pray. I'm trying to do what you're asking me to do. I'm trying to have a relationship with you. But in those moments, it can be the devil, but also God allows certain things to happen to help us grow. And what needed to happen in that moment for me was I needed to learn what Daniela just said. I needed to learn, and I did eventually learn how to say, okay, this is where God has me right now. God has allowed my kid to wake up and quote unquote bother me right now. It's okay. I can still have this prayer time even with this child beside me. It might not look perfect. It might be a little interrupted. My thoughts may not flow the way I would want them to in this moment because my mind gets so distracted. But God's still going to speak to me. God's still going to bless that time that I gave to him. And even more so because I gave it in love for him, even in the difficulty. I didn't just throw it away and say, okay, well, my kids are up anyways. I'm just not going to worry about this. It's okay. I'm here, Lord. It's a bit messy, but I'm still here and I'm still trying to listen to you, trying to, in the best that I can with this child on my lap or by my side or running around crazy. Oh, he took his diaper off. Oh no, all these different things. And that's what he asks of us. It's in those circumstances, regardless if they're full of joy and just absolutely perfect or completely messy and chaotic and crazy, he asks us to give it to him and to bless it. And through that, we can be at peace knowing that it's all going to be okay, that this is what he's called us to in this moment. And he has it under control, even though we may feel like everything is out of control.
Yes. And it's like something you said there, like what I thought too is, in my depressive state, I saw life through a glass that was half empty. And now it's really retraining your mind to see everything through a glass that's half full. And it's like in that moment she's talking about right there, she's literally training her kids. Like that is something they're going to remember when they're older, of coming down with mom while she's doing prayer and her, I don't know if you did, Nicole, but a great example would be her handing them some kind of Bible book with Bible pictures in it and them looking through that book while she's doing her thing. Like, that is creating that bond, quality time with your children, but it's also training them how to be good disciples to the Lord and to learn, what they need to do for those habitual actions that they need to do once they're grown. And it's
Absolutely.
like, but in that moment, we can get so caught up in our thoughts and how it's not going the way that we want it to go that we're just like what she said. Oh my gosh, me, because of how I operate in OCD and so streamlined and so focused and everything, like I would have just been like, it's not happening today, Lord. I would have been that person that she was talking about and just said, zip, zip.
It was me. It was what I wanted to do. Like some days it's like, okay, I've tried. This is it. But, going back to even like that modeling, it really isn't. I do. Like that's something like my older kids now, if they come down, like I offer them like you can get your prayer book from your cubby. But from all of my life, and this goes back to even like the conditioning and the beliefs that we are we are brought up with, is that we are the first and primary educators of our children. And regardless if you're homeschooling or they go to a public school or Christian school or whatever, you are their first and primary educators throughout their whole life. And it has to be intentional. Like there are going to be moments like we talked about the other week where we might we talked about it in the room. That's what we talked about. We had that room the other day that ended up not posting live or posting. We thought it was going to post and we wish it had, but we talked about like the conversations that we have with our children, and sometimes we be really intentional. Like it's like something comes up like with us, like there's a topic that comes up and we start discussing it. and talking about what's true and what's not true in a specific situation with my children. And that, and there are other times where it is more the modeling of we need to first live out the calling that God has placed in us, what he's called us to in this moment, and live it out as well as we can. It's not going to be perfect because, again, we're human, but that's not an excuse. That's the reality. We know that, so we don't continually beat ourselves up. But we also move forward knowing that we are going to continue trying to the best we can to be the best models we can. My mom shared with me a while back that a prayer she always prayed, and now I pray as well, as that, Lord, please be the putty in all the cracks that I leave, in all the places that I fail, and so that, and as I form my children, that it doesn't, mess them up basically, but just be that putty. Oh, I see that.
There was a Facebook post that I saw the other day, and I don't know what country it was, but when like a dish breaks, they fill it with gold to fix it. And it's like, think about that for your life. Like every time you feel broken, you can mend it. And it's like, ooh, that's powerful.
And that's like, how beautiful is that? Because God is that gold filling. Like he can make it even better and more beautiful than it was before because we give it to him. Because we give our insecurities and our weaknesses to him in that moment, he can make it so much better than we can just do on our own. And that's why we continually bring it to him. We continually go to him because we need him. We cannot do life without him, no matter how many times we feel like we can say, okay, Lord, I got this. We don't got it. We need to continually give it to him at all times and understand that that he is the source of our strength, that he is the source of all that we are and all that we do, and then operate from that belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was something I wanted to say.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It had to do with what you were just saying. Oh my gosh. It's going to be messy. It's going to be messy. And what I was going to say is we have to walk through it ourselves before we can help anybody else walk through it. Just like Nicole, the example of the kids again and her praying, it's like she was in that growth stage of trying to figure it out for herself. But God was literally challenging her by, those kids coming down and her having to incorporate them into that time. But it's like, we have to figure it out for ourselves first before we can truly be that model and teach other people. And it's like, but that's everything. That's everything that we teach here with the foundation of hope and everything. We first have to walk it out ourselves, and then we can teach it to others. But we can also be surrounded by others during that journey that we're on. And while we don't know 100% what we're doing, like we can still lead in that moment and be a leader for what is right while we're in the mess of it and walking through it. Nicole, do you have anything else you want to say? I want to go through some of these comments because there's quite a few, but they're really good.
Go ahead and go to the comments because I know we're over an hour now. So go ahead and go through those.
This is a topic we could literally string out and go into so many conversations on, and we could be here for hours. Literally, we can talk about this for hours. But it says that question puts things in perspective for sure, and that had to do with asking yourself, if you died tomorrow, what regrets would you have? And definitely think about those things, you guys, like, because if you have regrets right now, something is out of order, something's out of perspective. There's a value that's not being placed where it needs to be on the hierarchy, and you really need to discern that and figure out what needs to happen to truly not have any regrets. It's not like, Nicole and I are both trying to buy a farm right now, and if something happened to us right now, it wouldn't be, oh, I regret not buying the farm and having a better place for our children to live. It's not nothing like that. It's like, how can, in the mix of the mess, do you have regrets? Like for me, going back to the whole ball game thing, if Saturday I went and seen Nicole and then something happened to me on Sunday, I would have regretted not being there to support my child that one last time. And so when it comes to that and those tears, the why has to make you cry. When those tears come to your eyes, like they just did to mine, it's like, oh, I know that has to come higher on the hierarchy than going to see Nicole. And I have to be okay with that, even though inside of me, the feelings are equally mutual of I want to do both. I want to be in both places at the exact same time. But my child comes first. And I know that because that's what makes me cry more so than not getting to see Nicole. And so you have to consider that, what those regrets are. And then it says mothering is working towards parenting, but also see as a job. So that's what we talked about. When it comes to mothering and knowing that you're doing right as a parent, it really goes back to your identity of God. What does God say you're supposed to be as a mother? What do you feel inside of you is like top notch, being the best mother that you can be, and being okay and forgiving of yourself when you're not that. Because it's just like when I went through that phase of yelling at my children and having to learn how to be more patient and loving and counting backwards and not going to talk to them until after we both had cooled down and all the things. Like, it's truly working through the mess of it. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have to, I still yell at my kids whenever there's a lot going on and I'm overwhelmed and there's 500 things that I'm supposed to be doing at one time and they're bickering and fighting for the 599th time that day. It's like, it's still just going to come out of me because I'm overwhelmed, but I have to assess the situation and be like, oh, Danielle, like I go apologize to them after I've done it. It's saying, I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I'm sorry that I said something hurtful to you. I was overwhelmed in that moment and it's not okay. And I'll try to do better next time. Please forgive me. And it's just knowing that you are still growing in that moment and you can do better next time. And I had this conversation with Amy in the background earlier today. And it's like, it's that repenting and trying to do better with your sins. When you repent on a sin, you automatically are supposed to start trying to do better and not sin again. It doesn't mean that you're not going to sin. It just simply means you're going to have to keep repenting on that thing and keep having that acknowledgement and awareness of what's happening and keep trying to get better at it. And it's the same way, life and business. It's the self-mastery process is the self-mastery process. You keep walking it out over and over again, every area of your life, every area of your business, and you just keep growing as a person. And it's knowing what is good and having that discernment of what is good and bad and what aligns with your beliefs of who you are right now and what aligns with the Bible. Kat said, I hate seeing myself unemployed, but I work a ton even more now.
Yeah.
I feel that so much because when I was depressed, I thought my plate was full. And now that I run 3 businesses and am trying to be the best mother and wife and put God first and all these things, like there's so much on my plate now. And I do so much more than I did back then. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if all that you can handle is just being a mom right now. Like, it's just your job to do the best that you can in that moment. You feel that if you feel that being unemployed is a negative thing, then it's going to be really hard for you to put your kids first. Because your mind is going to be like, oh, I need a job. I need to do this. I need to do that. But that's not what God is calling you to in this moment. God is calling you to be the best mother you can be in this moment. That's why you are where you are, because your attention needs to be there. And it's like, you have to accept that. And that was one of the things when I was depressed. I saw all these women having massive careers and, all the things. And I was like, why do I not have that yet? There was a lot of growth that had to happen in me. There was a lot of this work that we're doing right here and that I've been doing for the past 4 years that I still fail at every single day and I'm still growing at, that I've had to learn. And it has helped me to be aware of why I am where I am. And that's why I started the show with what I did. Is none of our journeys are the exact same. None of us are exactly the same. Yes, we are all Christian moms trying to simplify life and business and understand, our purpose and how to make this work, but to each their own. Because it's about that relationship that you have with Christ. It's about where you are spiritually on that walk of that journey and, truly growing through the mess and knowing and accepting who you are in this moment, right? So just know that where you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. God is going to this I keep saying this over and over, but God keeps taking us back to the crossroads when we don't make the decision he wants us to make. And he keeps putting that back in front of us so that we can make that right choice. There have been so many times I question myself, should I go get a job? Should I go get a job? And it's like, no, because I assess my heart and my heart is right here every single time. It's just a test of my faith to be consistent with the path that it's required of me, right? But how you see that may be different. And whatever you discern in that moment and whatever you feel and whatever is that true belief for you is what you have to go with. But it's also affirming what God wants of you multiple times and having those other people like Nicole to sit there and say, you know, you're right where you need to be. Trust the journey, trust the process. Our kids grow fast. And that's why Nicole and I, we say, put those kids first because they do grow fast. And we're all going to grow out of this stage of motherhood. The other day, I was talking to a woman and invited her to the group because she is a mother, but her kids are grown. And she's like, I can't be in that group. And I was like, why? You're a mother. She's like, but I'm not going through the things that people with small kids are going through. I was like, my kids are in school. I don't have kids. Like, I don't have itty bitty kids like Nicole is holding anymore. Like, I don't 100% resonate with where she's at anymore, but I've experienced it. I have wisdom that I can, you know, pass down to her, and you can pass down wisdom to us through those challenges that you have faced. Like there's no reason you can't be a part of our group because it's life and it's business. And so again, we're all on our own unique journey. And Kat said, I wish I got compliments. Have you expressed that? Have you expressed that to your family? Because it goes back to communication, and we're going to talk more about this next week within the relationships within the home, in our homes.
And you know,
that
it's okay to even like, I think sometimes like it's okay to express to your husband that desire and that need. It's okay to tell your children, okay, say thank you, mommy. It's okay to teach them that because you're not just teaching that for yourself either. If you feel like, oh, it's selfish, I'm projecting that on you right now, by the way, but if you feel like that's selfish, well, think about it this way. You want them to treat other people that way too, not just you. Again, you are modeling, you are teaching them proper behavior for how to appreciate another person. Like, they get to practice on you first. You are their guinea pig, just as like your first child is your guinea pig. But it's okay to ask that. It's okay to talk about that need. There's totally a difference between demanding it and expressing that need and that desire. Because we can't make someone do something, but we can definitely ask and say, I feel loved when you compliment me. I feel loved when you say thank you.
Exactly. And that's the conversation that happened between me and Devin. It's like, I really need you to tell me thank you, or that I'm doing a good job, or the house looks great today, or whatever, whenever you feel that, because it helps me to feel loved. And so now he does that on occasion. It's not every single day, but he does do that on occasion. And of course, that is modeling to our children. You need to tell your wife. You need to tell your wife that thank you for cooking supper tonight and that it's really good, or whatever, you know. And so it's just modeling that behavior again. And it helps to just distill those good habits in our children. And you can ask them to say, hey, can I get a thank you for supper tonight? Like, I feel like I worked really hard on it. Like, you know, Amy said, that's why I find my husband's change in the dryer. It's my payment. I need a raise. But we all do. All of us moms need a raise. Like, the pocket change is not enough for all we do as mothers and wives. But that's okay. I operate by example, but it's hard not working and Theo not seeing me work. And again, like, Kat, you resonate with me more on this because you want to be that example of somebody who is a good provider for your family through work, is what it sounds like to me. And that was the same scenario as me. I wanted to be a good wife and mom, but I equally wanted to have that level of providership for my family. And it's like, and again, it goes back to the why. Why do you think it's important for you to work? Because in the olden days, you know, in Indian days, like those the women in the family didn't work. So why do you feel that it's so important to you to operate and set that example of working a real job or
Also,
a
like,
business or whatever?
it's shifting that perspective too. Of what does work mean? Does work just mean bringing an income in? What about all the work you do around the house? What about the work you do raising your child? It all plays together. I mean, my husband and I, it's very like he has the primary job. He's the primary breadwinner of our family. And but he also knows that he couldn't do that if I didn't stay home and keep the house. If you look at the house now, you wouldn't say it's clean, but keep the house clean, or pay the bills, or make sure we're on budget, or any of those things. Like, we need to work together. We both have roles that complement each other to help keep our family running smoothly. It is both work. And it's when you change that perspective, right now you're saying, this isn't work. This isn't work. This isn't work. Because what it sounds like, it's work is just when you provide an income for your family, where really it's that there's the income coming in, but it's also how you use the income and how you are a good steward of the things that you already have in the moment. Because you are responsible for keeping things running efficiently and smoothly, repairing things when they break, for some things. Your husband might be for other things. You know, it depends on the different roles, but and what like that looks like per the individual family. But it's all important. And that's, again, like, start finding things that help to edify that, to help find quotes, because they are out there, where the homemaker, the wife in the home, the mother in the home is fully edified and loved on, because it is a huge working role and is vitally necessary for society, and for the children, and for the family itself.
Balance and security. Yeah.
It is. I mean, because like there are homes. I know your circumstance is a little different, but Lily, please don't touch that. There are homes where mom and dad are both out working all the time, and their home life is a mess. It's chaotic. And, well, sorry, my daughter's playing with this light. And there is no peace because everyone is out chasing, not that you're trying to chase the money, but chasing the money or chasing this other thing, instead of understanding that what needs to happen. I mean, there are families. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with both parents working, but there does have to be that full understanding and awareness of where you are and where God has you, and what is needed and necessary for your family as a whole in the moment. And if God has called you right now to be home with your family, to care for them each day in and day out, then that is beautiful. And that's like the best thing you can do right now for your family. And it's not easy, but it is so worth it.
And it is. And that goes back to what you were asking on the original post, Kat, of, you know, how do you know moms are worthy? And it's like, it just goes back to, this is what God has called us to. He's made us mothers because he wants us to train up our children. And that's just like, you know, at the start of my journey, it's like, well, I need to go back to work to help out financially, but so if I go back to work with a regular job, I'm not going to make enough money to even provide anything. So is it really even worth it? I would be paying to go to work with 3 small children. So it's like, I can't, I would much rather be home, trade my children up, me be the one spending the time with them instead of somebody else, and me not knowing what's going on behind the scenes or what they're teaching them or anything like that. I want it to be me. I want them to have that interaction with me. And this is when my kids were littler. And it's like, but there was a huge part of me in that moment is in your situation, Kat, and I was running from it. I was literally trying to, figure it out because we were in such a tight spot financially that I was chasing that money and trying to find a way to work from home while being with my kids. And it's like, but now spending time with Nicole and understanding things and doing life differently and having better care for myself and having a spiritual relationship with God, I now understand the hierarchy better. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I want to put my husband and kids first. I want that to be a main priority in my life. And I just had this discussion with Nicole a couple of days ago. And it's like, I feel like I've been running from the very thing that I'm supposed to be focusing on. Like, I feel like I've missed out a little bit on having the values set right and truly having that peace with where I am instead of trying to hit goals so hard. And so it's like, now it's like, oh, I get it. And it takes us a while. But again, the journey is the journey, and God has us on the road. We're going to have challenges. He's going to bring us back to that crossroad until we get it. And now it's like, oh, I get it. So hopefully, the challenges won't be too much longer for you before you're like, oh, I get it. I just need to enjoy my child right now because this is moving fast and it's like he needs attention, or she. I don't know. Sorry. I think it's a he. But it's knowing that that's where God's called you to be right now. And that extra love and support is needed right now. And that's okay. And that's just where you are. And it's just learning to accept that and have us to remind you of that when you're like, oh, I need to go make money. I need to go do this. I need to go show him that this is how people are supposed to be. And it goes back to those beliefs. What are those true beliefs? Do you believe that the woman is supposed to work in the relationship? Like, do you believe that both parents are supposed to work? Like, you have to explore those things and figure out what is truly true to you and what's truly true from God, and figure out where that middle ground is, and, start altering it to be what God says. And then somebody said, I'm not sure who it is, this is my first video call I've sat in on, and I just say, wow. That's what we say after every show. Like, this is God. We are sending this right back to God because God has absolutely blessed our lives by bringing us together. This was no act of ours. This is truly 100% God. To God be all the glory for everything that he has done to put Nicole and I together, to have our stories so similar, and us to be able to connect and on the level that we do. Have created this accountability partnership that we have, and to truly be able to just do life and business together that we do on every level of all the roles of life, and not just business. Like, we have totally done something that's unlike anything ever before, and we want y'all to experience that. And that's why we started this show, because these conversations are what we have in the background every single day, sometimes all day long. And it's like,
so true.
It absolutely transformed our lives. And we want you to experience that, even if it's just on Tuesdays and we have to be more structured about what we're talking about. We want you guys to experience this love and this support and the level of just love that we have, the friendship, the community, the everything. We want you guys to be a part of this. We truly do. We want, and just like Kat said, I wish I got those compliments. It starts with us. Kat, you are loved, you are accepted, you're doing what you need to be doing in your life. And we just want to remind you of that. Here's your virtual hug, because you are loved and you are doing exactly what you need to do. And we're proud of you. If that's what you want to hear, we're proud of you. Because that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear thank you. I wanted to hear I'm proud of you. But until I met Nicole, the rest of it didn't fall into play. Like, it started with her, and her telling me all the time, you're doing a great job. Kat, you're doing a great job. Allison, you're doing a great job. Amy, you're doing a great job. Sammy, like every single person in this group, all of you are doing a great job. And we want you to know that more than anything. And we're here to support you. We're here to listen to you vent. Jump in our inbox anytime you want to. Jump in the group. Tell us what you're discouraged with. Tell us anything. We're here to support you. That's what this community is for. Any wrap up words, Nicole?
I think that was awesome. We do also have in the description will be the link to the form where you can, the support form, where we have some specific questions that we go through so that you can tell us in a little bit more detail what's going on so that we can address it better. And who knows, we'll probably tweak that form a bit as we get replies in, because again, like Danielle said, we want to be here for you. We want to serve you. We want to love on you. We want this community to be as close to, the feel of an in-person loving community as possible. We know it's not 100% possible or 100% like an in-person community, but we want you to know, again, that you are loved, that you are cherished, you are appreciated, you are doing good work in your life, and we want to support you in that so that you can be the best wife and mother that you can be, and completely just be able to do what God has called you to in your life, with the confidence and the sure-footedness and the peace that can sometimes just feel so distant in those moments when everything just feels like it's falling down around you or just pushing in and the pressure. So please let us know, fill out that form, and we'll be in touch to help you figure out those next steps that you might need to take or to experience life in the way that you are wanting to experience it.
Absolutely. We are here for you. We've got your back. You may be further advanced in some areas than us, but we still have your back in those areas where we can support you. So if you're struggling with anything, we have a whole network of other coaches and supporters that can help you too, no matter what that looks like. So let us know where you're at. And if you are struggling with something, go fill out that form. It's at passionprofitceo.com/support, SUPPORT. And we will drop that link below so it's easily clickable by you. And you can just jump in there and fill out that form. And then we will do the work. We will jump in and just get in contact with you and figure out what those next steps are. We've got you. We will lock arms with you and we will figure it out together. And somebody had asked more about our identities of what we do in business. And so Nicole is really that accountability person. She helps you to put that hierarchy in place and helps you to figure out what that hierarchy is for your life. And she helps hold you accountable to that. And then I am the business strategist who helps you to truly take what she's doing in your life and putting those values first. And I help you incorporate that into your schedule to where those things stay first, but you also can do business around that in your own unique way and in a way that is going to be self-sustainable for you to truly get all the 11 parts of business done, but do it in an effective way so that you can have a thriving business. So if you need help with any of that, one part of it, just the part with the business, any part of that, we are here to open you with open arms and help you figure out what those next steps are. Maybe you just need a consult. Maybe you need to work with us for 3 months. Maybe you need something much more than that and you need everything that we have to offer. It doesn't matter. We will figure out what those next best steps are for you. Maybe you just need a freebie that we have to offer. But when you fill out that form, we can better assist you after we know more about your situation and help guide you and shed some light on you to truly be able to say, oh, here I am. Let's jump to this next level. And we will give you that bright light when you're sitting in the darkness. We'll pour our heart out to you and just support you, love you, accept you, and truly help guide you to whatever that next thing is so that you can get closer to that goal that you're trying to reach. All right, you guys, we've been on here for way entirely too long. We both got to jump off and go get kids from school and different things, but we hope you have a wonderful week. If you need anything, again, reach out to us, message the support form. It does not matter. Just reach out to us. We are here. We love you. See you later.
If I can run this thing.